What is a will, there's a way, Susan.
They're good.
All right, I welcome everybody tonight to our November workshop meeting. Before we get started, I'll introduce who's here with us tonight. We have the entire town board. We have Councilman Steve Moreau, Councilman Steve Bedetti, Councilwoman Sylvia Santiago, Councilwoman Eve Lincoln. We also have with us tonight our town clerk, Kelly Allegra, our highway superintendent, Anthony Feo, our receiver of taxes, Susan Feo. Susan Feo, what the heck? Susan Shagel. We have IT with us tonight. John McDonald is with us. And we have Todd Wiley, who's our assessor here for us. He'll be the first item on the agenda, and manning the controls is Patrick Mangan. Unfortunately for me, I'm George Myers. That being said, the first item on the agenda is a possible increase in the low-income senior citizen exemption. So there's been some state law passed that an exemption level can be raised, and the board has had some correspondence from our assessor, Todd Wiley. And I've asked Todd to come in tonight to kind of make a brief pitch about what's going on here. And then the board will act on this sometime, I think, in after the first of the year. Did we decide that? Okay, so Mr. Wiley, you want to give us a little rundown on this?
Sure. This exemption has been on the books for many decades. We've been at the income maximum of $37,400 of gross income for many years. We last raised the income ceiling back in 2008. The state law has not changed until very recently. A couple of months ago, Governor Hochul signed a new bill allowing it to go all the way up to $50,000. We were at $37,400. And we also, in the past, had opted for what's called the sliding scale option. So what we had done 14 years ago was we raised it to $29,000 base ceiling, and then we took the sliding scale option, which added another $8,400 on top of the 29,000. So we got up to 37,004. So what it was if your income was below 29,000, you got 50% off on your town taxes. And then if you're above 29,000 but below 37,400, it was a sliding scale. The lower your income, the greater the exemption, to the point where if your income was like $300 below the ceiling, you get like 5% off. What we're thinking of doing is to raise it to $42,400, which is a $5,000 income increase. Again, we're not going to go to the maximum. We think that's a bit excessive. We could go to 50,000 and then also adopt a sliding scale, which would make it all the way up to 58,400. All things considered, we thought that a $5,000 increase to the 42,400 and no sliding scale. So in other words, if somebody's income is below 42,400, they'll get 50% off on the town taxes. Okay, we only control the town taxes. We do not control the school taxes nor the county taxes. And this exemption only applies to the general fund and the highway fund. It does not apply to special districts for fire, ambulance, water and sewer bond debt, or if you're in the sanitation garbage district, it doesn't apply to those. But it is a very powerful exemption for low-income seniors. We have approximately 360 some odd seniors in the town now that are getting some percentage off. And of course, if we increase the income ceiling, we're going to have more. The good news is more seniors will pay less in taxes. The bad news is those taxes that they're benefiting, the reduction get pushed on to everybody else. So, it's revenue neutral to the town, but, we cause tax shifts when we create more or approve more exemptions. I had distributed a memo about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I believe you all got a copy of it. I brought an extra copy of it tonight. It kind of gets into the details of it, but I think that might be beyond the scope of this meeting. But basically, it's gross income as opposed to adjusted gross income, with very few exceptions. All the owners have to be 65 years of age. All the owners have to live there. There's an exception for husband and wife. Only one needs to be 65. So I'm here, to outline what we're thinking of doing and to answer any questions that you might have. Dave's office was kind enough to draw up the new local law, which is what it requires to adopt it. We have to have a public hearing. And that, of course, would be the next town board meeting. I believe it's December 7th.
There were some things here about like the veterans' disability and
Yes,
this thing.
yes, the town of New Windsor has historically been pretty generous as compared to most other municipalities. We opted 22 years ago to allow the deduction from people's income for any veteran disability payments. That's a local option. We want to keep that. We also allow the unreimbursed medical expenses. Most people have some unreimbursed medical expenses. Some of our seniors come in with $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. So they have a bad year. And so those are some of the few exceptions that we do allow to deduct from their income. But, their social security counts, their pensions counts, basically anything that's giving them money with a few exceptions. Like for IRAs, we don't look at the distributions, we look at the earnings. For people that have supplemental security income, gifts or inheritances, none of that's included. Basically, everything else is. So we should pick up more seniors. Some of the seniors that have been getting, 15, 20% off will probably get 50% off. But we haven't raised it in many years. And in these inflationary times, Supervisor Myers and myself, we kicked it around. We thought, to go to the maximum would be excessive. This law kind of came out of Real Property Tax Committee in Albany, and a longtime chairperson, Sandy Galliff. She just retired. She was from Westchester. And the Westchester, local government officials were looking for something closer to, $60,000 because, everything's relative. There's a lot of people down there with $1 million house is nothing in Scarsdale. It's generating 30 grand a year in taxes. So they wanted to have the ability, every town, every school, every county can choose their own income ceiling. So we thought, we'd increase it, by
Okay, so
$5,000.
I think that the boards have enough documentation. They can continue to look at it. If they have any further questions, they get back to you about it.
Sure.
And then we'll have the public hearing, see what the public said. But I appreciate you coming in tonight. And if you want to be on your way, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Just for the board and those listening in, there's two important things that Mr. Wiley stated. One is this only has to do with your town taxes. And most people don't know that your entire tax bill, about 15% is the town tax. 75% is your school taxes. So that's where the big number is for all of us, is school taxes. So this just has to do with 15% of your tax bill. Second thing that I think was worth noting again, that the taxes just don't go away. So the seniors get a break and yet it gets put on the rest of the taxpayers. So that's why we're trying to find a middle ground here. We realize that some seniors are in dire straits and we'd like to help them out. We also have some regular taxpayers who are in dire straits themselves. So that bill has to get passed around a little bit. So we'll see how the public hearing comes and then we'll see where we're going.
Is there a mechanism, Todd, to make some of these seniors aware of this? A lot of them probably don't have computers and newspapers, and I mean, is there any way to touch?
Yeah, we can post it on our social media.
I mean, they may not see.
Yeah, we can put it on the social media, but it is printed on the back of the tax bills. that they
Let's
might
say-
qualify
Okay.
for senior
Susan?
exemption.
Once they get it,
It's on the
it's,
back.
they
It's on
need
the
to
back
apply
of
for
every
the year
tax
after.
Yeah, I think most of them know about it.
Okay, I mean, I saw 322 right now.
Yeah, and as you may recall, for the last 2 years, we haven't seen them. Okay, there were
Yeah.
executive orders signed each year that allowed each municipality, if they wanted to waive the application fee. We didn't want to bring them in here during the pandemic. And so we just gave them the same percentage. That's what the executive order allowed. So, this is 2 years we haven't seen that. Their income could change, but they're chomping on the bit. We get calls every day. When are we going to get the renewal application? We said, we're working on it. I mentioned to them that the town is wrestling with possibly increasing the income ceiling. I'm going to put that in the letter when I mail the renewal application. She'll probably send out in the next couple of weeks. The public hearing date will be in the letter, for those that want to, push for it. The only other thing I want to add is that, the county's at the maximum income ceiling as we are at 37.4. All the school districts are at 32,400. They haven't gone to the former maximum. I'm not so sure the school districts are aware that this new statute was passed and that they have the ability to increase it. They would more than likely tend not to unless they got some requests or some pressure from the taxpayers. But as George said, over 70% of the taxes people pay is the school taxes. If people really want to give a break to the seniors, that's where you have to go.
All right, listen, we'll put it out as much as we can. As Susan said, it's on the tax bill. We'll get it out there. And probably the people that we could miss would be new people. I mean, the other people, they've been hounding you already, you say, right? And so obviously there's a need there.
Yeah, in the law, they have to own the house for a year before they're eligible, unless they live in another municipality in New York City and they got the low-income senior on their former residence. Of course, we have to document that with the assessor's office from wherever they moved from. But
Okay. All right, Todd. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving along here. The next item on the agenda, this ADA transition self-evaluation form that we have to do, has to do with the FEMA grant that we received for the Moresco Center. It was about $495,000. And part of the requirement from the state is that we do this self-evaluation. So we're going to follow through with this. And in line with that, the next item has to do with independent living, which is Doug Hovey's group down in the city of Newburgh on Lake Street. We've contacted him and he's going to come in and help us out with this. It's a 90-day completion. His fee is, I think it was 15,000. Yeah, 15,250. So I think we can maybe take it out of the grant. We're not sure. If we can't, then we'll have to take it out of the general fund. But if we don't do it, we won't get the grant. So on tomorrow's night agenda, you'll see that the awarding that bid came through, and the bid was 415,000. So there's some money there. There was some things on this bid that were surprising to us. One is that we couldn't charge the engineering fees to it, so we got to eat that. And now if we can't charge this, we got to eat that. However, they said we could take some administrative fees. So probably we'll be able to make it up there. But Resco needs an update. And we've had a meeting or two with Doug, and he's going to hook up with our building and ground supervisor, department head Keith Bedetti. And they've already had a meeting, and hopefully we'll get this put to bed and get it done. And it's been a long process. Jess in our attorney's office has really carried the water on this one. I mean, every time I turn around, FEMA would send another requirement. I told her one time, it was me, I would have given up a long time ago. She's very determined and stayed with it. And hopefully we'll get this done. And then that'll be, the whole town hall complex here has been pretty much updated. We've done the parking lot, we've now done the roofs, we've done in the interior, all the buildings. So it should be good for many years to come, but this board's put a lot of work into getting this done over the last few years. So this may be the final piece to be done with it. So hopefully this works out okay. I'll keep a close eye on this with Keith. Next item on the agenda is the 2023 request for professional services by McGoley Hauser Edsel firm. They had, I sent everybody the paperwork on this. Originally, they had asked for a little more money. Had a meeting with them. They didn't get any increase in 2021, and they were looking for what I thought was a large increase. So I think I sent everybody the paperwork. So I think they're down to $103 an hour for general engineering services and $185 for reimbursed by applicants. So if anybody has any issues with that, we can speak to it now, or it'll be on the agenda for tomorrow night. And we'll see where that goes. The next item on the agenda is we're going to call a public hearing for vehicle and traffic. There's two vehicle traffic issues that I've been kind of keep my eye on. One is the Lafayette subdivision apartments down off of Route 9W behind Irish Eyes. And I know the highway superintendent's hot on this, and the police department, we need to get some stop signs down there. So that will be the first one. The second one that I've been very hot on is the school, no parking down at Heritage. When they're lined up down there for a pickup at 2 o'clock, it's an accident waiting to happen. They line all the way up on Union Avenue around the curve, and we've had the police department down there. We moved some people around. We've been in contact with the county who owns Union Avenue, and we have been sending them pictures. As a matter of fact, the town attorney went out and took some pictures himself to show them how dangerous it is and asking them to put the signs up. Dave and I are a little bit of a disagreement. I think we can put them up ourselves. He thinks we can. So we're really pushing the county to get the signs up. So I'm going to follow up on that very closely and see where that goes. But that is an accident waiting to happen.
Can't the school district do anything? Can't
No.
they? I mean, they
They have tried. They have tried. We've had them in, and they have had the people down there. They had one scheme that seemed to work okay when they were taking the parents all the way down to Temple Hill, parking there and there. But eventually, then they were parking across the street at San G and driving across the 2 lanes without paying any attention to anybody coming. So to me, it just looks like something is going to happen. So I don't want anybody to say that we weren't aware of it and that we weren't. We were definitely fighting our way through this. So we'll see how that goes. The next item is, we did this survey, and it had to do with pickleball. I asked my secretary to kind of just go on there and see what some of the results were. She did a quick thing. Councilman Bedetti came in, he had a more in-depth thing on it. So everybody has the thing that I sent that Katrina did. So you want to talk about what you come up
Yeah,
with?
just on this survey, there was pretty much 4 things asked if people play pickleball and if they're interested in learning the game. They played occasionally, would be willing to play in the Windsor courts. If they're avid players and they would play in New Windsor, or if they have no interest at all. So the total survey generated 248 responses. Of that, 170 residents were answered that question that they would be interested in somewhat, or they play. 32 non-residents were for it. 44 residents had no interest, and 2 non-residents had no interest for the 248. There were some in Katrina's comments. So there were some things noted that there was 20 people had mentioned a pool in the survey for pickleball, 3 splash pads and 4 combo pool splash pads, and then some random basketball, handball, track, hockey, and indoor facility. But as far as the purpose of the survey, it was pretty positive. It's about 85%.
So I sent Stephen something today that I talked to the town of Cornwall supervisor today, also about the dial bus. I had a chat with him about that, but we talked about this, and he's been getting some pressure down there for pickleball. And then the tennis players, they were upset, but I was wondering myself, how, if we did it the tennis court, would we be relining it with lines, and it'd be lines, and how would I know what line is for what game? And then they did something down there with tape and Velcro. Did you ever see that?
I did. I know,
Okay.
I've seen them maybe on their tennis courts. I did see somebody the other day playing. I was walking, I drove past it, but on their basketball courts, it's actually painted. The other ones, I never. This is like an $85 Amazon fix.
Yeah, it looked to me like there was Velcro there, so that you kept this tape down, which was a line. But then I thought, well, maybe you could trip over that, right? So that was an issue too. So if we were to consider this, one, do we do it down at our tennis courts down at San G, that the tennis players were not happy about it? Or do we actually build it? Now, if we build it, I'm guessing we would probably do it on our own property out at Christie Babcock. So we wouldn't have to buy the property, we'd have to fix it up and do whatever it is to make it that. So I guess that's the question. I mean, 1, are we gonna do it? 2, where are we gonna do it at? Right? So what do you say?
I mean, I guess in fairness to everybody, the board here and even the taxpayers, maybe if we can, I guess I'll spearhead it some here, go out and get some numbers. And, for it to be completed court, maybe 3-4 courts, fence, whatever type of, whether it be blacktop or whatever.
So
type of
we're talking
surface.
about San G.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
no,
Christie
over
Babcock.
Christie Babcock,
Okay.
and, do a standalone where we're not interfering. Now, this tennis court's been there before I was a kid, so they, I don't want to interrupt those. And they were actually pretty busy today, believe it or not.
Tennis courts?
The tennis courts, yeah, so.
Oh, I saw them this morning with the squeegee, taking the water off.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, they're definitely, and I definitely don't wanna interrupt them, but, if we can come up with a, an idea, or, at least get a baseline on how much it's gonna cost and
All right, so do that.
bring it back to the
Yeah,
board and we'll.
do that.
figure out-
Don't we at times look, if people want to do some sort of sponsor towards it or something like that?
I would definitely work towards that, and would look to see if the supervisor would be,
Yeah, no.
listen, I think free money, everybody taking
Yeah,
free
I'll
money.
take free money. You good?
But, listen, we have a talented staff here that can even, between our highway department and buildings and grounds guys could even prep an area to, do whatever we gotta do. So we definitely would save some money.
My question is, how long would it take to build it, to have it installed and
I
everything
can
else?
start tomorrow.
No, but seriously, how long
The
does it
weather,
take?
the weather is not good now, but I would say, by the time you're done doing fencing, and I think they wanna, you would probably need some sort of shelter, so they're not in the heat. I'm assuming, I don't know, we'd have
There's
to
no,
ask some
there's
people.
no shelter at the tennis court.
There's not, no, but I know some of the other places do, so, and this place is in the dead middle of, there's no, if
Well,
we
we
could,
did-
Pittsburgh Park,
we did
there's
the
no
dog
trees.
park.
We did it at the dog park, something similar to that, nothing.
Sure, no, I know.
Great. I would say a couple months. I mean, at best, if we started in the spring, if we got to that point, it'd probably go. But, again, it's everything, what's the availability of fences, nets?
Sure, so then my question would be,
So-
would we want, if it takes, and it doesn't, let's say it's not ready for the fall or something like that, do we want to consider, even though I know it's not gonna make people happy, but go with Matt's original recommendation of painting, maybe 2 of the courts or something, just temporarily until it's up and running.
I don't know how you do that temporarily. That's the problem. You
Painting.
talk about the tennis courts?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. If you have the lines for tennis, now you draw the other lines. You know what I mean? To me, it
I
seems
guess-
like a lot of lines.
Correct. I would think the same also, but it's my understanding that a lot of other places do this,
I
have
think
done
it
it, and they
works
know
for
their lines.
I think it definitely works.
Again, it's just a temporary,
Yeah,
if
no.
it's gonna take a long time.
We talked about that. I think you had brought Keith down there, and I think there was a couple of people down there who were, obviously tennis players. If you come to my house, I'm not gonna tell you, no, don't, no, I don't want you here. But I think if we did 2 courts there temporarily, we certainly would make, you can't do one because it's more of a team sport. It's not, they bring a whole bunch of people and they all, intermingle and.
No, correct,
So,
no, I can understand. Mhm.
it's, I don't know, it's.
Well, listen, if you're gonna do that, then you gotta get back to me and let me know. I need to go down there with Keith and Matt to see what it looks like.
Yeah, honey,
You know
yeah,
what
I
mean?
think I can get you a photo, either something online or rendering or something.
What I didn't like
Sure.
was what they sent me from home, because I just could see people, and it could be wrong. Maybe I should take a ride down there and take a look at it.
I mean, that particular thing, I think is definitely a hodgepodge.
Why don't you take a
I
look
don't-
at that when you're down
No,
there?
I will. I know, like I said, that may be under tennis court. I'd have to.
It
find out.
is.
Okay, yeah, because I did see the other day somebody playing something on there and I didn't really pay
No,
much attention to it, but on their basketball courts, definitely it's
No.
painted.
No, this
But
is on their tennis
Yeah,
courts.
oh, okay, yeah. I did
So
see-
if it's not a danger, that may be the way to go without painting anything, tape it up, but I'm a little concerned about tripping.
Is there a spot you already think fits for that down there, like Christie?
Oh, yeah.
You could probably take like caution tape, flag out like the exact.
No, no, I
things
think,
that were just-
I think where he brought to my attention that Chrissy Becker, probably the place to do it. It would be just pickleball, nothing else. What
Hold
we're
right on
talk-
the left right there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
what we're talking about is the tennis courts down here, lining and painting them, I don't know.
For a quick fix, I mean, I don't know how, I think they play based on weather as well, so, I mean, if we could do something, if we end up all agreeing on it and we can get it done in the next, say, 6 months or so, we may not need something temporary then, who knows?
And just an idea I thought of, can we get prices also on maybe reutilizing that empty, I guess it used to be some sort of hockey rink square at Rochetti, which is already fenced in on 3 sides. It already looks perfect
Yeah,
rectangle.
we actually measured that out, it needs a lot more work than we think, there's some water lines gotta be moved, we gotta, I
That
mean,
was the first thing.
best thing would be mafia
So
block.
what is
The
the,
fence, the outfield fence of the softball field needs to be moved back, so I think by the time we're all said and done, you got some parking, and I think even some of the pickleball people's concerned, even though the town neighborhood doesn't have it that way, there's some houses right there. And it is a bit annoying, the noise of the pickleball coming off, so I think its own standalone court and basically in the middle of the woods where there is a park now would probably be the best fit, honestly. But we did talk about that, look at that, and it was, that was my first choice, but
yeah, I really think we utilize that at some point soon, because it's sort of an eyesore. A few people asked maybe like we can make it like a
Yeah, it did work,
Skateboard
yeah, it
park,
worked
right,
at,
or
it did
roller
work
hockey
at
or
ice,
something.
but then the
Yeah.
weather never got conducive
Yeah.
anymore.
Right, so maybe just like a
Yeah.
roller hockey or. skateboard
Yeah, that's
sort of
just a
thing.
matter of paving it up a
Yeah.
little bit. I mean, isn't there something sticking out of the ground down there someplace?
It's like a little yard hydrant, I guess,
Yeah.
so water.
I have
They
to get
just
that out
replaced the
there.
heater there and
Somebody
everything.
falling out.
Yeah, definitely.
So listen, I think that maybe take a look at that corner thing.
Right.
If it's something that, I think he said the tape was $100.
Yeah, it was $85 or something.
If we
I saw it
could
on Amazon.
Do that. Sylvia's talking about down here at St. G.
As a temporary.
Maybe
production.
try and do that, see what kind of play we get.
Right.
See who shows up before we sink a couple $100,000 into this thing. So let me know. All
Yeah,
right, take a look. at it.
Sorry, one more thing for anybody watching, just to clarify, these recreation projects are funded out of the Parks and Rec Fund, which are not funded by taxes.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the comments in the survey was, as long as it doesn't increase my taxes, so I just want to make that clear for anybody listening that.
Yeah, no,
This
it's,
is
we have
funded
the
by
parkland
developers.
funds. That's probably, like 658,
Yeah.
660
But it
in there.
continues to grow as things
Yeah.
break ground.
I mean,
Those funds
unfortunately-
can only be used for
yeah,
recreation
and
purposes.
unfortunately, that only grows when we're building. And we'd rather not see the building, so
Exactly.
that someday could dry up too, so,
Right.
Oh,
yeah, we gotta be.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody's wondering if it's.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, listen, I mean, if you're supplying good recreation for your residents and the parks are in good shape and there's programs for them, most people, okay, my taxes go up, this is good, because I'm getting something, you know what I mean? Even if, like, most of us don't have children that age, I'm like, this is good, it's good for the town, right? Keeps the kids off the street, gives other people a chance to meet people, and it becomes more of a community. So although that is an issue, to me, it's not an overriding issue, to me, is the money well spent, but this particular money would definitely come out of the parkland funds, that's
Just
why.
because it's a smaller project. though.
Yeah, it's a
To
small,
clarify.
yeah, definitely. Okay, the next item on the agenda, go.
I'm good.
The next item on the agenda is the change order. The people who are doing the roofs here at Town Hall and at the Empress Building gave us a change order to do the roof down at 244, the little recreation building. And that's been a mess for a while. Keith and I have been working on that particular project for a year. But this change order came in pretty good. It's total of $34,750, the change order for the that roof and replacing the gutters, because they're in pretty rough shape down there too. So we're right now under budget for this project between these two roofs. So it wouldn't even be the whole 37,000, but I think as long as we're doing roofs, that finishes the roof issues for what are roofs, 30 years, 25 years? So they should be in good shape. So that'll be on the agenda, change order for Stevens, who they seem to be doing a good job on the roof here. I was actually climbed up on the roof. I did. That's right. And yeah, it looks good. There was a lot of work up there, and Keith and his crew have been patching that for, God, how many years. We've been having ceilings fall in, and, you know, it's just got to be, the can was kicked down the road long enough, and now it's fixed, and it should be good for many years to come. We have the budget hearing on tomorrow night. I asked Doreen to show up. I know all the board members have had their input into the budget. The budget, once again, is under the tax cap. Our payroll is down, so I think the almost $50 a year for the average taxpayer, which is something like $4 or $5 a month. And once again, most people do not realize how insignificant this town tax is at 15% of their bill. And then you start to think about the police and, you know, different things that they get for that, the recreation. And it's a pretty good deal. And the town board has always been very concerned about the budget. I mean, this town board and town boards before them, and the budgets have always stayed within reason here. And that's one of the things when you talk about why is the Windsor a good place to live, and I hear that over and over again. Well, the taxes stay pretty constant. So the next item on the agenda is this zoning change that we have to do for U-Haul. And it's down on 32, and it was come on R5, and it should be highway commercial. So we need to have a public hearing this, but everybody has the paperwork. I made sure everybody got everything. The other day, I went up and spoke to our building inspector, Jennifer Gallagher. And I said, is there anything else that we need to change? So she said that the planning board engineer, Arnott, said there may be something else. So before we get to advertising, let's make sure that we get everything that we need to change changed. So when is it, we talk about February, David, on this?
No, we would probably look to have a local law ready to go in December.
December?
Introduce it, call for the public hearing in January, and hopefully proceed with the public hearing in January.
In January?
Assuming that the timing works out.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
All
and see.
right, so everybody has this, so if you want to kind of take a look, I got plenty of time to kind of let us know where you think we should go, but
Could be February, George, just because of the notice
Yeah,
requirements.
January,
It might
February,
be
it's okay.
45 days.
yeah, I mean, it's, I just so capture everything down, I don't want to do it again.
Right.
And, this is very clear that it should have been highway commercial.
What
And
is it now?
could I mention something as well?
I think it's just,
Half of it,
I think it's a, yeah, half of it, right? Part of the back of it is,
Yeah,
the HC and the one part's R5.
correct.
Is
The,
it
the,
mostly
the
green?
front of it is HC,
Yeah.
the rear of it is R5. And just along the lines of additional changes, if I could, George, I sent out a memo. Some of the additional changes that we were talking about, in which I wanted guidance from the town board on, is there are some additional parcels in that same general area that have the same issue, that are zoned in the front HC and in the rear R5, and it just seems to make sense, if the board agrees, to make, the changes to those as well at the same time, if we're gonna go ahead and change this
Which ones are
particular
they, do you
parcel
know?
as well. I have a map that I
Okay.
can show you guys.
No, this particular parcel you hold is vacant land right now.
It's
It's a
the pink
proposed
one.
site.
Say that again?
This is a proposed site. that you
Yes.
all want.
Yes.
No, the other
Yeah,
ones.
and the petition that was filed only, sought the change on their parcel.
Oh, the other ones are
But then in-
established businesses or are they? proposed?
Some of them are, yes. And you can see it, I think, on that map.
So maybe we should identify them by name then on the, and
I have the SBLs
Okay.
now as
we have
well.
time.
Yeah.
I just would like to get it all. Do it one time.
So the pink represents
This
what?
isn't- Not yet.
The parcels that would be affected, that are at right now, the majority, I think, of each parcel is zone HC, but there's a good portion of each as well that's
No,
it's
it's
a
okay.
split
We're still
zone
okay.
for the same
It's just
parcel.
that we-
So the,
should just-
it's HC
part of
and it's
part of it.
R5,
Make it all-
and it doesn't seem to make sense.
Subject to change.
And it's just something we
Yeah.
didn't catch when we were
I think
making the
it's us
changes
saying
to
that
zoning
they should-
in relation to the comprehensive master plan.
Yeah, but they can't build the way they want,
Yeah.
the way it is.
I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Put it in a R5.
No, I think the problem is that part of their,
Where they want to extend
where they
something
want
back
to,
there?
where they want to do the whole project. is gonna
Whatever they-
extend into the R5,
Right,
so,
so-
which makes sense, because I don't think it's.
Listen, I agree with
house.
changing
No,
it.
but what they bought from him was good. And when they saw it, they wanted to do more. That's where this comes.
So they expanded.
Yeah, they want to expand when they want, but they bought for him, that was the end of the deal.
Yeah.
But when they got there, they said, oh, wait a minute.
By subject to what they want to build.
Yeah,
You
well,
get that stamp plan, they can close.
Right, so-
I was surprised, that's what they
That's
did.
what I said. I was
So
surprised
he's
that happened
saying-
so quick.
Just don't know.
Is
Yeah.
commercial, but technically.
They can run it, That means we must make it money.
Oh, yeah.
Woods.
No, no, big.
So I guess they'll close the one they
That
have.
was the other one, yeah. I asked the same question, why they got in a block of each other.
Each one's weird though, the hill and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
All right, so that's where we are now, okay? So, listen, I added something, I hand wrote it in here about the water, just to bring everybody up to date that we have found a lot of leaks in the last couple of years. We have authorized these I&I studies, and I asked John Agito for some numbers today. And we have had days in October where we were doing 2.1 million gallons a day, 2.2, we're always doing 3.5, so it's, Susan Travel Shaker, and as she knows, we have found some major leaks. So it's cut down on this, and I've also instructed him to take less water from Port Hill and more water from Packerton. So we're down to about 18% now with Port Hill, and of course, that is blended with the 82% from the aqueduct. But I was really surprised at these numbers when I saw them today. It was one day, it was 1.9. I mean, we found some major leaks. We hired leak tech and we, what do they call them, loggers?
Yeah.
We had the loggers, and I mean, we knew something was wrong. Some of the leaks were running right into a catch basin. So they didn't show up anyplace, they were just flying in. And then we found some developments, right? We're housing apartments. And so, yeah, listen, we have done a lot of work, Susan's office with John Agito, and Mike Weeks, it seems to have paid off, you know, in a big way. So the next group that we're kind of going after are the commercial, the large meter people. We have a little pilot project going on right now, and we'll see exactly how much we're actually losing there too. So I think at some point in time, the investment that we made in this water is going to pay off for us. So I'd like to thank Susan. Your name is Shiloh, right?
Yeah.
I get a little confused. I looked at your sister one time and I just said, Doreen, and I have once not recognized her. You wonder why I don't want to be me? That's why. All right, listen, we're going to go to executive session now. So, Patrick, you can sign us off.